What up? I'm live. How we doing? What's the deal? What's today? Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. I've been trying to get on here for a bit and trying to fight the nerves and just get on and hit that button and get on. And for a second there, Instagram wasn't working for me at all. So a couple weeks ago, I tried to get on too, and then it got all screwy, and that was a good excuse for me not to get on for weeks. But here I am, yo, and I'm glad to be on. So much stuff is happening. I hope everybody's doing well. It's about to be, what is this, late March right now, and 2022, and there's so much going on, but I hope we can find, like, spaces for love and peace, you know, in our lives and in our families and in our circles. I certainly feel like I'm in that kind of place, you know. I feel really lucky. Since taking the risk and leaving CNN, man. I just got a dope gig at Weed Maps. What up? What up? What up? She was on. What's up, Auntie? Yeah, I got a dope gig at Weed Maps. I'm an editor, animator, and, you know, really creative space, and they're based in California, but I'm doing it remotely out here in Baltimore, and it feels really cool to be on a Zoom chat talking about weed nuggets and creative projects around around marijuana and all this interesting stuff coming up. So I'm excited for it. We got something in 420 coming up. A 15-second spot is kind of like my first big project, or first bigger project there, and I'm excited. Can't wait for y'all to see it. Can't wait for y'all to see it. So much good stuff. Tomorrow I go on my first cruise. Sheba and I going on our first, well, she's a cruise head. They go on cruises a lot. I'm going on my first cruise, and I'm excited for that. It's gonna be 7 days out at different locations and in the Caribbean, and being out in the sea like that, I'm excited to see what, you know, how that plays out. It should be fun. I'm amped. Yeah, what I was saying, I mean, when I look around and pause and I realize just how lucky I am and how privileged, and, like, you know, sometimes you have to stop and look around and appreciate, you know, the situation, because you can get locked into your heads about a way of being, you know. That's something I've been coming to terms with, is witnessing, observing, and being present. You know, I think that's why I talk about being present a lot, because being present helps you do that. Sometimes the systems of ideas, they keep you thinking that you're just behind something. So you're just behind the future, you know, and you're always just outside of the grasp of some future experience, when you are present, and that's the best place to be, and that's the only thing that exists. And that's where the power lies, not only for actions for the future, but also interpretations of the past, you know. Are the powers in the present on that. Like, even you think about, you know, when you forgive someone, or you know what I'm saying, or you have a different view about something, it's like, be present, you know. And the experience of it is completely different. Once you learn new information in the present, you can act differently in the present. The feeling about a specific moment in the past can be reinterpreted and produce a different result in the present. So that's nutty. All right, that's my what was that? That's my little rant. I think I wanted to talk about love today, yo. And so I got a couple of words written down, and I'm gonna just try to roll with it from that. But also doing some lives with Sheba has been really interesting. Which brings me to today's word, which is love. The first thing I want to point out is that, like, love is a word, yo. Love, as we interact with it, quite often is it's a word, and I want to separate a word from the other things that love is, from these broader concepts, because that's important. Too often we connect words to the things behind the words, and then we fail to see these differences. So like, love is important. I love everyone watching this video. I will say love to different people. I say I love you because I mean it, because I care about them. But we all have different tiers for that. You know, there's a different love that I have for good friends of mine. Different love I have for people who I respect, who I think do awesome shit. A different love I have for my mom. A different love I have for Sheba. And so being present is like, or love, I should say, beyond a word, beyond saying I love you to each of these people. I think the through line on it is, what does, when you interact with another person, it's to drop it's to understand that you are the same, you know? That's what love is, I think. I think love is to be interested in someone for real, for real. So it's an interesting. So one of the things I'm realizing is a lot of paradoxes, yo, in this experience we got, you know. So love is at the same time and simultaneously, yo, if I'm in love with you, I'm acknowledging us as the same. I'm treating you the same way that I would treat myself. I would treat you as though you were an extension of myself, because you are, because I choose that perspective. And it's also about recognizing and respecting the distinctions between us, I think. You know what I mean? So there's a oneness, you know, there's a oneness and an acceptance that's kind of a part of it. In the other joint, I was talking about bees and flowers, hearts and lungs and these different body parts. Like, they interact with each other. They you know, one can't operate without the other. Or they can, but maybe less well. The entire organism suffers from a failure of one of these things. So the distinction between you know, love and other interactions, you know, there's power relationships going on. You know what I'm saying? And love is to remove that power relationship. Oh, here it is. Oneness, right? We're all one, right? Let's say Sheba and I are interacting. I don't think it's possible to create a separation without having it manifest some way in the present, okay? So so when I interact with her, you know, love is to break the wall down and treat her like really as though she has the same condition that I have. The minute I put up some kind of a difference and I assert a difference, which is unfortunate because our entire society is predicated on this major difference between partners, between people and genders and racial difference and all these other differences. As soon as I put that, it has to manifest somehow in my mind, in the way I approach the person. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I've been thinking that love is the choice to not do that. And that's the crazy thing about the choice stuff, yo. Sheba and I was watching The Matrix the other day, and it was pretty powerful how the themes they were trying to hit in the movie. But it's a choice. It has to be a choice, you know? When two people get together to operate from that, rather than to use power one way or the other. And I'm gonna say straight up, it's not just male to female. The power is, there's power. We each have power in our situation. So it's like, you know, it's the difference between communicating and manipulating, which is sometimes a subtle thing, you know. Love is to work really hard to avoid manipulating. It's an acceptance of myself, an acceptance of the other person in their fullness, which means the same, because we are the same. We're both infinitely complex beings. Like, you're just one manifestation. I'm a certain manifestation of you. You're a manifestation of me. I'm the version that was born in Guadeloupe and ended up in Brooklyn and ended up out here in DC and out to Baltimore. Like, this is me, but you are beautiful and interesting, and you have a unique manifestation. So, you know, one of the most pernicious phrases or ideas ever was like separate but equal, right? There's no such thing. There's no such thing. As soon as there's a separation, there is a difference. It will be manifested somehow. And of course, we know the ways that it was manifested in that instance, in that moment in American history. But that principle, I think, is inherent in every interpersonal relationship at every level, from the wife, husband, brother, sister, community, the organizational stuff, you know. Oneness is dropping the difference and and accepting the truth of the oneness. And that's love, you know. But it's pretty interesting because I think there's another flip side to it. This is the paradox part. Like, we're all different. And so there's a version of this oneness principle that if you take it, like, all right, well, we have to, you know, there's a version of that can fail to appreciate distinction and can sort of seek to subdue distinction and can, like, penalize distinction. And, you know, everybody should be in a uniform. Everybody should walk this way or look this way. You start to come up with ideals and ways of, like, asserting it. This is just how it works. And I think, so the other part is to recognize and respect distinction and create the conditions where the oneness also embodies distinction and respects distinction and offers space and power to the distinction, you know? And that's so deep because even these distinctions, you know, like, what are the distinctions that we pay attention to? Like, these were made up. These were contrived by powerful forces, you know, and continue to be. The distinctions, like, even as we're one, the distinctions between me and you are insane, you know? We're so, again, the stuff we breathe, our lungs, we pump out blood through all these different cells, you know, our brains are interpreting stuff, we feel pain, we can hear with the senses, we do so much stuff without even thinking about it. And each of us do these things differently. Each of us, like, some of us have allergies, some of us have, you know, different, well, I don't know, bone densities and conditions that are so vast in scope and broad, you know, that if we took deeply if we analyzed ourselves all the way down, we would see just how completely complex and odd and rare and unique and individual we all are, you know? Completely rare and individual. You are the only person like you. And so that's the paradox, because we're both one and we are intensely not one. It comes back. It's a loop. And to accept that and to allow for both of that and to pull the best out of both of that, right? And just create the conditions so that people can choose that. Because the ways that we've manifested, the way we've pulled out these differences and manifested them in society with NFTs. Yeah, with all them different things. Crazy. The way that these differences have been manifested in society, these differences in terms of skin color, in terms of biological sex and gender, which I think is an overlay of that, these inflection points, these choices to highlight and inform our societal structures and norms around these things are was contrived. It was picked. They picked it from all the billions of things, you know, rather than to pick some amazing difference between, like, I actually have a heart murmur. I found out back in high school I have a heart murmur. I have a unique heartbeat situation and like an extra flap or some shit. I don't even know. It's been a while. But, you know, that, instead of picking that and saying people with heart murmurs, blah, 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 I was like, they picked skin and sexual and biological sex. These are more prevalent. These are more visceral and visual. They're more visual, more visible. And so they're easy ways to separate. But we're all the same, okay? We're all the same. And we're different. And it's beautiful. So I want to say the anxieties that we have around race and gender and all of these things, it's not real. The anxiety is related to the story that was created so many years ago that we've inherited and passed down from pain and suffering, and also through just the teachings and the norms, yo, as we navigate the pain and the suffering. Love is pulling all that down and walking away from that. You know, it's like being able to see each other and respecting our differences. It's a paradox. There's a lot of these out here, man. I consider myself a feminist. I consider myself a womanist. And there's so many reasons I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Like, but let me give you a few. I think one of them was raised by a single mom who worked really, really hard and raised 3 children. And you know what I'm saying? She had my stepfather in my life for a period, but I saw firsthand her challenges, very firsthand. I was in a lot of ways her confidant through difficult things, you know? And a lot of it was weird stuff. I also saw in my family, anytime there were like public events, like as a child, aunts and cousins that were together, like we'd have cool events, get the family together, and then as time passed on, marriages dissolved, and it seemed to me like the aunts always had the children, and the uncles moved on to like a new girlfriend and stuff like that. That was consistent, and it always didn't seem right, you know. This one time I was on the Amtrak train coming back from New York, and I was really tired. I was trying to sleep, and this older black woman sat next to me. She's like, "Is this seat taken?" I said, no, you got it, you know. And I let her sit, and I tried to sleep. And she woke me up because she had this is so funny. I got to do a cartoon on this. She woke me up because she had like a little video playing. And she wanted me to see it. Or did I just wake up? Who knows? She woke me up. I woke up. And then there's a video of her that she got digitized recently, and it was of her dancing. She's in her 60s. And so, long story short, she tells me the story how she was a dancer when she was a young girl. And she loved it. She has all these pictures, still images of like actual Polaroids and shit in a box. And we were talking, and she told me about her husband and all that stuff, and her kids. And I asked her if she was still dancing, and she just laughed. She was like, no. You know, her husband at the time, I think they got married at like 26. They got married, and he told her, no more dancing. He said, the dancing makes me uncomfortable. You know, you're dancing with men, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, you could just see, like, she laughed, but then we kept talking, and you could see this sadness, man. This thing was her life, you know? Dancing brought her joy. And she just gave it up. And to me, that's all tied. That's all connected. You know, that's not a, whatever that was, like, that's not a conversation, you know, and that's not love to me, you know. Again, apart from a word, apart from saying something, to love that woman at 26 is to understand the depth and the value of dancing to her. And it was dancing, by the way, it was jazz dancing, it was tap, it was jazz and tap dancing. Yeah, it was, you know. And to understand that and to let that, to figure that out in a way that incorporates her truth, you know? Like, if not, then, you know, that's not how love manifests in the moment, you know? How do you carry on a relationship that cuts off what seems to be a major element of someone's, like, space of joy, you know? So those are some stories. Those are just some stories to me. Now, again, like, you almost never hear that on the flip. It never works that way. You know, my mom, in fact, my mom was put in a position to kind of, you know, be a housewife on one level, but it also put her in financial dependency in a way that wasn't, you know, in terms of my stepfather. So she wasn't fully in a great place. She actually made some career choices based on my stepfather, you know. It almost never goes the other way around, it seems. And so that's to me one of the issues with love and the way it manifests, the way we talk about it, is I think harmful in so many ways. One, in that it can be so, you know, loosely applied without giving it the space for what it is, and I think we don't attach it to, like, what does it mean? How does it play out? And I think it plays out with an effort for oneness and for genuine exchange, you know. I think sometimes when you get on a date, I know I do, you know, you go on a first date, you're being yourself, but you're also putting your best self, right? There's a goal, there's an intention, there's some effort to be an image of something. And so, you know, I want to call that a manipulation in a way, rather than like the things that come from that is a conversation, is manipulation rather. And not in the worst sense, right? But if we are presenting something rather than ourselves, then it's not love. Love is acceptance of what it is in the now, in the present. Taking that in its fullness, seeing how beautifully unique it is, and accepting that. And anything failure to do that isn't love. And if it's two people, you can see that usually the only time that kind of thing occurs is if there's another force at play. You know, most people don't cage themselves. It has to do with forces and things. So you know, to me, that's my definition of love, and it puts me in a place where you got to be a feminist, because you realize historically and in the present day or a womanist, you realize how historically in the present day how power plays on relationships. And I think if we can't get the personal relationship between husband and wife, if that is handled in a way that doesn't imbue love, if even that, the most intimate relationship, lacks what I think is a deeper definition of love, then I really struggle to see how we can manifest love in a broader sense in our communities, in our organizations, and in our nation. You know, it has to start with a proper grounding definition, I think, which acknowledges these phony categories, and it's not even about rejecting stuff, because look, I consider myself, I'm a man, I'm a black man, but the thing is, I define that. The definition of it is not, the definition out there exists, and I'm constantly being judged by it. I recognize that. That's how this works. I'm not even going to be mad at that. But I want, love is saying, when I see you in whatever form you shape, I'm going to inquire. I'm going to actually become interested in you, in the present, interested in how you came to be you. What are the consequences and the ideas and the traumas and the difficulties and the beauty and the privileges, all of it, because we all have all of it, and you say that this is you, that's a unique thing, and to accept it, you know, rather than to demand something external, something outside of that. That's a good grounding space for love, I think. And especially in you know, in the relationship, but I think just broadly, you know, that's how we can figure out how to interact with each other, as we have very different conceptions of the good, and very different experiences, very different definitions, very different needs and values and hopes and spaces that bring us joy, you know. That's key. The other part of that too is, you know, and I've been looking at it for myself, like control. Like love is also risk. Love is removing your need for control. That's the ego saying, I'm here in this relationship, and you recognize, you know, the little ways you can assert power. It's like, and do that too, like, cause you are part of it, you know, and don't stress and but as much as possible, make the conditions for a constantly evolving now of truth and oneness and respect for distinction, and creating with all of that multiplicity of confusing things. This is why there's no, you know, these books that outline a plan on how you should be and this and that. That's not it. There's no way you should be. You should be someone who has a harmonic relationship with your conditions, with your situation. You should be someone who, especially in a space of love, is able to engage and communicate rather than to manipulate, to communicate and to create, co-create from that, which means a loss of control, which means that what comes out of that could be odd, it could be new, it could be something that we haven't encountered, it could be awkward, and you have the limits you get to set, you know. It's like you're powerful, but you also choose to engage from love. That's how I see it. So I just think that, you know, there's a whole thing to be responsible with that, to understand that, because every interaction we have is like that. We engage, you know, every day I get out and I go into the grocery store, I have these engagements, I have these agreements going on. Right now the agreements include masks and shit like this. Prior to that, it's just simple shit. You don't, you know what I'm saying, you don't run up on somebody in the grocery store. Stuff like that is agreements, you know, and a lot of it is implicit, and it's just quietly a part of our understanding, and that's a beautiful thing. It has to be that way. We can't, some people, like, I think it's also a problem to be, in a combative relationship with some of these things. You know, it's not something to combat. It's not something to, you gotta shed. It's here. It's what it is. Love. Again, love in the moment. Respect for what it is. Some of these requirements that we have on each other are the product of previous experience, and you know, it's acceptance and then assertion, and it's just this little dance that happens, and it's, you know, I think we need to just kind of build each other up, though, with this new framework of, like, accepting that. Because other than that, you have people just not seeing each other and not communicating with each other, you know? I don't know how much time this is, but I want to just end with this one joint. This is something I tried a couple years ago, and I think it's pretty legit. And I say a couple years ago. I try this every now and again. I still operate that. This is a way of playing this game that we're in, okay? I think that A lot of times I used to think the way I thought about life was that I had to I had to make choices. I had to make choices, and the choices, the actions I'm taking would be sources of anxiety for me because I wanted to make the right choice. I didn't want to make the wrong choice. I didn't want to end up dead. I didn't want to end up missing an opportunity, you know? I didn't want to end up hurting someone, saying the wrong thing. So, and then I would have these feelings. So I'm anxious about making the choice, and then I would have these feelings, and the feelings would come and go, and I couldn't control them. And I just want to say something I've done recently is to flip it, yo. And to flip it, I mean to say this. I mean that I don't think about the choices. I let the choices be. I realize that the anxiety around the choices has everything to do with my perspective. It's not that, you know, none of that matters, you know. Just be, you know. Just be. And then the active part, instead of being active in the choice, I try to be active in the observation. You know what I'm saying? Active in the processing and the observation, and just observe who I am, how I move. You know, when do I get awkward? When am I like my most charming and interesting? When am I the most creative that I get this stuff coming out? When am I the most horny? When am I the most like deeply interested in stuff? Like, and when am I getting angry? When am I full of anxiety? But to let all that happen, you know, to let go, you know, to let go. Love, you know, in an interpersonal relationship and just broadly, is about the acceptance of the moment and the action and this thing that happens. And no matter what happens, it's fine. Whatever path, it's, we're always acting and interacting and exchanging, and whatever path comes out of it is fine. You will then have to make a new choice and a new choice in every moment, because there's a million moments in every second, right? And at the same time, time is made up. It's all one thing. There is no time, you know. I'm getting a little loopy on this, but I hope I guess the point of that there is no time is to say it's always now, you know. Sometimes it's just like, oh, I can do this next week, or oh, I'll wait. This is my thing with the video, like, I'm awkward, let me wait. It doesn't matter, you know. Like, I hope that you receive this well, you know, as you're listening to me, but maybe you don't. It doesn't matter, you know. I'm trying to be clear and honest and just let it flow, and I'm hoping that, like, each of us will receive it differently. That's how it works, you know. And it's okay. And something I've said in here might be interesting and profound to you, or something I've said in here might make your, you know what I'm saying, you think otherwise. Who knows, you know? And that's just where I'm at with it. Or I'm trying to get there with it, you know what I'm saying? To simply be and not worry, and to observe that, and then to make adjustments if needed based on those observations. But to experience, man, because the present is all we have, and we can do it from love, and that's all I got. Yo, thanks very much. People like, what's this dude doing out there? Thanks for tuning in, y'all. I'm going on this cruise tomorrow. I'm so excited. My first cruise with Sheebs, and gonna be chilling, and I'll try to like update with some pics or whatever. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. Peace.